up, everybody? So today we're going to go through an essay by Ralph Waldo Emerson, and this is titled Circles. So let me just pull up the chat here real quick, make sure all the settings are good before we get into it, because I I'm I don't know. Once I get going, I'll forget to change the settings, and I'll be like playing a video, and there won't be anything on the screen. So uh, I get too excited sometimes. So okay, everything looks good. Um, we're gonna get into it, but the reason why I chose this, let me get my the reason I chose this is one, I thought it was the perfect length to just go through and get it all because the thing about Emerson is he says so much in so few words. I really need to go through this whole thing. I didn't even remember that I had this book. I've just been carrying around this small Emerson book with me. And yeah. What's up, Sarab? How's everything? It's been a while, right? It's been like a week or two. Can't even remember the last time I streamed. I've just been so lazy with it. But yeah, I just highlighted some of so most of Emerson's essays you can get online. Project Gutenberg has it. Hopefully that's available in whatever country you're in. I know some countries it's not. Um, but I just pulled it up on Project Gutenberg, uh, highlighted some things I want to go through, and yeah, that's what we're gonna do today. So let's get into it. Circles. Nature centers into balls, and her proud ephe ephemerals, fast to surface and outside, scan the profile of the sphere. Knew they what that signified? A new Genesis were here. Um, and this doesn't really quite make sense yet until we get the context down here. Um, because he's obviously describing geometric shapes, but here is where the significance of that comes because the whole point of this is that Emerson is describing the entire world as somewhat one substance. It's somewhat reminiscent of what's his name? Spinoza's Ethics. St. Augustine described the nature of God as a circle whose center was everywhere and its circumference nowhere. We are all our lifetime reading the copious sense of this first of forms. One moral we have already deduced in considering the circular or compensatory character of every human action. Another analogy we should now trace that every action admits of being outdone. And so, really, what Emerson's saying is that the entire universe, the entire world, everything that we see, everything that we observe is somewhat interconnected, somewhat interplaying with everything else. And you could take this in the way that Emerson's saying, or you could take this in purely a I don't know, physical kind of idea of things that we're all sort of part of this physical cycle of matter that's being reborn and decayed. That's the really simple way of taking it, but you could also take it in the way that Emerson's saying is that we're all somewhat united in the same soul of the same heart. Don't worry, I don't I don't highlight the whole essay. I probably highlight like about half of it. This fact, as far as it symbolizes the moral fact of the unattainable, the flying perfect around which the hands of man can never meet, at once the inspirer and the condemner of every success, may conveniently serve us to connect many illustrations of human power in every department. So again, he's speaking about this infinite nature of God, this infinite nature of something beyond our experience, and we're merely just tapping into that. There are no fixtures in nature. The universe is fluid and volatile. And what these two sentences really remind me of are Heraclitus's idea of you never step in the same river twice. I think he perhaps said it best out of anyone else is that the entire existence of everything is just change. Without change, there's no existence. Um, And think about the example of the river. You step in the river, you take the next step. The person who you were in that instant is already gone, and the river, the water that touched your leg is already down the stream. So because of that, we're constantly trying to recreate the past. We're constantly trying to bring back what was. Think about like it's really easy to see in somebody that went through a breakup and you know they're not going to get back together, but they just can't get over that person, and their entire soul is devoted to the idea that they would be happy if they could go back to the way things were, but you know it will never happen. And that's why you always feel for your friends when they go through stuff like that, just because it's something that you know is never going to be present ever again. Permanence is but a word of degrees. Our this is a very interesting idea too. Um, Even in like engineering, like there's not really such thing as like making something last forever. It's just slowing down its decay and how can we expand its life cycle as much as possible. If I hadn't used my marker since 10 years, I would have done the same. What do you mean about highlighting everything? I just I think the first like page of this is like really important to the message that he's trying to say. And then a lot of the other stuff he says in this essay, it kind of repeats in some ways, and it kind of repeats in it obviously goes into more depth, but like it's nothing that you could not read into having read the first page or two of this. And that's really the problem with Emerson is that like each and every word he speaks to so much, so it's like to even go over him, it's kind of difficult just for that reason because in each and every time I read it, I interpret it in a new way. Our globe, seen by God, is a transparent law, not a mass of facts. The law dissolves the fact and holds it fluid. Our culture is the predominance of an idea which draws after it this train of cities and institutions. Let us rise into another idea. They will disappear. The Greek sculpture is all melted away, as if it had been statue of ice. Here and there, a solitary figure, a fragment remaining, as we see flecks and scraps of snow left in cold dells and mountains clefts in June and July. It's so hard to read Emerson sometimes too, like especially out loud, because it's old English. So like some of the words they don't like I'm trying to read it and it doesn't flow right in my head. The grammar is just a little different. I don't know if anyone else experiences that. I don't know if anyone else is reading this stuff out loud, but it's much more difficult than I thought it would be. It's hard to read actually. I mean, yes and no. Like again, this is only 9 pages. So like it's difficult to read, but he's intentionally packing a lot of stuff in it. And the whole point of what Emerson is trying to say is he's trying to kind of not beat around the bush. He's kind of trying to say things as plainly as clearly as he possibly can so that you can move forward and so that you can become what it is that you need to be. Essentially, Emerson's whole philosophy, the whole idea is becoming in tune with your nature, with the nature of things. And that's more or less what he's saying here is that there's this kind of impermanence, that there's this kind of cycle of life, and that we're just kind of taking place in this cycle. Where was I? For the genius that created it creates now somewhat else. The Greek letters last a little longer, but are already passing under the same sentence and tumbling into an inevitable pit, which the creation of new thought opens for all that is old. The new continents are built on the ruins of an old planet. The new races fed out of the decomposition of the foregoing. New arts destroy the old. See the investment of capital in aqueducts made useless by hydraulics, fortifications by gunpowder, roads and canals by railways, sails by steam, steam by electricity. And really, what Emerson's doing here is trying to divorce you from any set beliefs, any set ideas, any rigidity that you hold on to because the rigidity is taking you away from the truth. Is that the only thing that you can guarantee about your life is that it's going to change. is that it's not going to stay the same, and that it's in some way going to progress for good or for bad, and that in some way we're all being reborn anew. We're all decaying and we're all becoming something new. So you could talk about this in terms of, you get older every day, or certain beliefs you have slowly kind of grow out of fashion in your mind, or certain aspects of your personality kind of are springing out from once was, and all sorts of things like this, that every in every sphere of life, in every instance of life, you can find these ever growing and expanding aspects of yourself and aspects of everything else. Everything looks permanent until its secret is known. A rich estate appears to a woman, a firm and lasting fact to a merchant, one easily created out of any materials and easily lost. An orchard, good tillage, good grounds, seem a fixture like a gold mine or a river to a citizen, but to a large farmer, not much more fixed in the state of the crop. Your question is, what's your question? Why do people lose themselves? People lose themselves because they think they need something outside themselves. You lose yourself because you don't value yourself. Like if you really knew what you were looking for, you wouldn't have to go look. But because you think you need to prove something to the world so that the world tells you you're good enough, so that you can look in the mirror and tell yourself you're good enough, because we're all bought into that game, it's hard to find what it is that you really want to do. It's hard to find out who you really are. It's hard to find out these really simple truths if you really can disregard most of your programming and fixed beliefs and you know ways in which you view the world. But what he's talking about here is interesting as well, because he's saying that everything that we hold up high always has some sort of weakness. A rich estate appears to a woman firm and lasting, but to a merchant it can be easily replicated. So its beauty is in the eye of the beholder. It's that what we see is not always the actual fact of things. I'm going to I'm going to get to another point about this, but Emerson also expands this idea to attributes, that there's no such thing as a good attribute or a bad attribute. The key to every man is his thought. The life of man is a self-evolving circle which from a ring imperceptibly small rushes on all sides outward to new and larger circles, and that without end, to the extent to which this generation of circles, wheel without wheel, will go depends on the force or truth of the individual soul. So, this is a beautiful way of saying that we start very small, but the more we live life, the more we kind of have a hold over life. And we'll go down to this depends depends on the force or truth of the individual soul. And when Emerson says force or truth, he's not really speaking about what we know as truth. It's intuition, it's perception, it's what you feel in your heart, it's what you know in your soul. It's that internal compass that we all have that we don't listen to. And the more finer tuned it is, the more perceptive you are to what you actually want in this world. But even in Emerson's time, Emerson lived from like 1820s to like 1880s, something like that. Sometime around there. But yeah, I might have got that completely wrong, but I think I did. Let me look up how old Emerson is. But it's important to understand this idea, because whenever I talk about Emerson, I ask this question: how many decisions do you make in your life for you versus how many decisions do you make in your life for other people? Wow, I was very wrong. I got the death right. 1803 to 1882. I was just wrong about the birth year. So I knew he was around that late because I knew there was some. He was very popular when Nietzsche was alive. So I knew he was touring and giving lectures. But the heart refuses to be imprisoned. In its first and narrowest pulses, it already tends outwards with a vast force, too immense and too and innumerable expansions. I don't know why I was trying to fill that in. But again, here's this idea of your internal compass, of what your heart wants, of what you're guided to, of what you're meant to experience. And I mean, this really goes to your question of how do people lose themselves? Why do people lose themselves? It's because they're not listening to themselves. It's because they're listening to other people. It's because they're allowing themselves to be distorted and distracted from what's actually important. I mean, like, if you don't believe this, then just take a look at your life and take a look at how much you curse your life instead of how much you count your blessings. You know what I mean? Because it's really easy to say, I don't have this, I don't have that. I think that's it's really like one of the main tools of this world to keep you where you are is to make you feel like you're lacking something. But how often do we count our blessings? How often do we look to our lives and see the good things? Myself included, whenever I'm in a bad mood, whenever I'm in one of those moods where I just can't get myself out of it, the one thing you have to do is you can't replace a thought by thinking yourself out of it. You have to replace the thought with another thought. I'm living a life where I absolutely cannot make decisions according to others. Well, that's good. I mean, it depends what context. I don't know if you're saying it in the way I'm saying it. In the way I'm saying it, I think it's a noble thing because the people that really care about you, they don't like you because of something you do. They like you because of you. So if you stop, living your life in a certain way, they're not going to immediately uproot themselves and move themselves out of your life. Those the people that are going to do that are your fair weather friends. The people that have nothing in common with you. But the people that really care about you and want to see you do the best are going to really appreciate the changes you make to better yourself. Every ultimate fact is the only every ultimate fact is the first of a new series. Every general law, only a particular fact of some more general law presently to disclose itself. There is no outside, no enclosing wall, no circumference to this. Again, this is sort of Platonic idea forms here that what we observe is so minuscule in comparison to everything, and we really can't quite describe the nature of things, the nature of laws, the nature of stuff like that. And there's something beyond it. That's what he's speaking to. People go away, and ultimately you go away. Then you realize you were a puppet to society. Okay, man, you're reading too much Kafka, aren't you? I mean, I guess you could take it in that way, but like you could also take it in the other way. It's like you don't have to be a puppet to society. You don't have to play by the rules. You don't have to partake in a game that you don't derive any value from. And I think that's really the trap there. It's like you can see that there's some purposelessness in most of our lives, but instead of removing that purposelessness and replacing it with something new, you just let that pit stare back at you. In the thought of tomorrow, why did I say that weird? In the thought of tomorrow, it's because of that. There is a power to upheave all thy creed, all thy creeds, all the literatures of the nations, and marshal thee to a heaven which no epic dream has yet depicted. Every man is not so much a workman in the world as he is a suggestion of that he should be. Men walk as prophecies of the next age. So I think all of this builds to this really interesting idea here is that men walk as prophecies of the next age. Because think of the world we live in. it's not really the world that you created. It's not really the world that I created. It's the world that the past generation has created and formed and molded, and that what we move forward with is what's going to create the next 20 years, the next 40 years, the next 50 years. And that's really an interesting idea that everything is ever changing and we're slowly slipping into a new era of thought. You resonate a lot with weak characters that fought for lost causes. I mean, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, I think in a certain way we're all Sisyphus. I think there's a certain, but I don't assign any sort of emotion to it because like what's life? What's work with no sort of or what's a reward with no sort of work to it? So I think it's a necessary balance that we have to go through hardship in order to experience some sort of reward. If you get what I'm saying. The new statement is always hated by the old, and to those dwelling in the old comes like an abyss of skepticism. I don't know why this is spelled weird. But the eye soon gets wanted to it, for the eye and its effects of one cause. Then its innocency. Why is this word spelled wrong? It's throwing me off. Benefit appear, and presently all its energy spent, it pales and dwindles before the revelation of the new hour. So again, this is an idea that we're I feel like facing right now. I feel like there's this big push between the old and the new, and that there's always a certain subset of people that want things to go back to the way they were or stay the same, and there's always a subset of people that want to move things forward. And here we have the Hegelian dialectic. We have, you know, thesis, antithesis, and then synthesis. I don't know why, but I love a character who has resigned to his fate but still fights. But isn't that just human existence? Like it's a great way to put it. Like I agree with you there. Like, you know, in spite of all odds, you keep fighting. In spite of all odds, you keep pushing. I mean, for good or bad, that's a compelling character because that's just a fundamental part of life. Like even if you win the lottery today, like your life's not really going to be perfect. There's still going to be challenges. There's still going to be things that come up. Maybe it's a different kind of challenge. Maybe it's more of a bureaucratic and boring kind of challenge, but you're still going to face challenges. I mean, Elon Musk faced challenges every day, if not probably more than I do. You know what I mean? It's just a different kind. I mean, there's also that idea that you'd probably want Elon's challenges more than my challenges. But again, it's there's no such thing as a free lunch. There's nothing in this world that you're going to get for free. There's always some responsibility attached. What's up, Zachariah? How's everything, man? Dude, it's been like, how long has it been? Probably a month, right? Maybe longer. I don't even remember the last time. I've been so bad about streaming though. Like I don't know what it is. Like I just haven't really wanted to turn on the camera for a while. Like it's not even that like I've been procrastinating. It's just like I don't know, I just didn't think I was gonna have fun. But today's different because we got Emerson and I feel like I'm gonna do these instead of the other kind of streams where I react to videos. I mean we may go back to that at some point, but it feels like we were going over the same things. It feels like it was getting repetitive. Where this we can get into more detail. I can structure it. We don't always have to do specific things. I can write something and then we can go through that sort of article thing. But too long, bro. But I'm really good. How about me? No, I've been pretty good too. I mean, just reading. You know, just doing the things that I enjoy doing. Uh, trying to push through. Trying to I don't know. You know, it's like I don't want to say like I'm in like a rut right now, but like the only way to describe it is like I'm in a lull and it feels like something big is coming, some sort of big shift, some sort of big change, some sort of I'm gonna hit a point where it just clicks and things make sense. You know what I mean? Like the Austro-Hungarian Empire. That was not the example I was thinking of. Dude, I haven't heard the Austro-Hungarian Empire since like high school. I just remember that was like one of like the early memes, like the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand. Fear not the new generalization. Does the fact look crass and material, threatening to degrade thy theory of spirit? Resist it not. It goes to refine and raise thy theory of matter just as much. And this is an interesting sort of idea because it's like we're so opposed to new ideas that we try to denounce them and instead of hear them out. Because think of like if you're arguing with somebody, it really does you no good to just outwardly resist and just not listen to them at all. Because if you do that, then you can't strengthen your own point. You can't see their perspective. You can't learn. You can't grow. And I think there's a necessity to being open-minded with understanding, with any sort of virtue, with any sort of wisdom. And this is really why Socrates, well, Plato coined Socrates as the wisest man who lived. It's because he knew what he didn't know. He was open-minded in scenarios. He was able to listen. He was able to break down arguments with questions. He was able to have a conversation about things. And in fact, that's why we don't have any writings of Socrates. Because to write something down is to define it, is to be rigid. And Socrates didn't believe in rigidity. There is some beauty in weakness. Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's like think of like a baby deer. Like baby deer are some of like the cutest animals, but like they're basically helpless. So it's like there's certainly something in that. Our moods do not believe in each other. Today I am full of thought and can write what I please. I see no reason why I should not have the same thought, the same power of expression tomorrow. What I write whilst I write, whilst I write it, seems the most natural thing in the world. But yesterday I saw a dreary vacuity, as they said, in this direction in which now I see so much. And a month hence, I doubt not, I shall wonder who he was that wrote so many continuous pages. Alas, for this infirm faith, this will not strenuous. This grammar is like very difficult. This vast ebb of a vast flow. I am God in nature. I am a weed by the wall. And it's not even that like I'm assuming this grammar is like fine for what is this almost 200 years ago, but trying to read it out loud, I'm not expecting the next word. So it really throws me off and it's making it difficult to go through this. Wait, is there someone named Rudy Steiner from the Book Thief? Is that a character? Because there's a I don't even know what to call him. A mystic. His name is Rudolf Steiner, and he was in Germany. He had a run during World War II. That'd be an interesting. I didn't know about that when I read the book. Okay, our moods do not believe in each other, and what he's saying here is that there's an ebb and flow. There's a give and take. We're not always the same person. We don't always have the same confidence, but we kind of just have to go with these things. This is this may be my favorite quote. He was Liesel's friend. No, I don't remember the book because I read it when I was like 14. I remember liking it. I remember a little bit about what it's about. How like death is the narrator and how the girl goes into the library and steals the books. But that's really all I remember. I don't really remember. And then like the whole Jesse Owens arc, which was interesting. I love Jesse Owens like at that point, so I thought that was cool. For every friend whom he loses for truth, he gains a better. So if you lose a friend because you found who you really were, because you got away from those bad habits that you were doing, and you know those people no longer text you, then that's good. You know, you shouldn't be friends with people for the sake of being friends with people. You should be friends with people for the sake of having that connection, having that person to rely on, having that person to expect support with nothing in return. And that's something weird that I feel like we all kind of learn growing up, especially like myself. I would like I would call people my friends like right away back in the day. Like if I had a decent conversation with somebody or if I hung out with somebody a few times, they'd immediately be my friend. And I would treat them as such. And the truth is you shouldn't treat people as friends unless they kind of earn that, unless they kind of deserve that. And it's a thing of I can't spread myself too thin. If I have 100 friends that I can't really give the time to the people in my lives, the people in my life that need it most. Rich and no, rich, noble, and great they are by the liberal. I don't know this word. Liberality, our speech, but truth is sad. See, this is the problem with like speaking out loud because I've never said that word. Liberality. Like sometimes I read words and I know what it means, but I can't say it. Must be good to be able to have close friends. You don't have close friends? What? You have no friends? I find that hard to believe. How often must we learn this lesson? Men cease to interest us when we find their limitations. The only sin is limitation. As soon as you once come up with a man's limitations, it is all over with him. He has talent. Has he talents? Has he enterprise? Has he knowledge? It boots not. Infinitely alluring and attractive was he to you yesterday, a great hope, a sea to swim in. Now you have found his shores, found it a pond, and you can care not if you never see it again. And this is a very interesting idea because when I read this, obviously he's talking about somebody else, but when I read this, I was applying this to myself, and it's something along the lines of like when you look at yourself and you give yourself limitations, when you put something on yourself, then you bind yourself by that restriction. So if you say I can't do this, I can't do that, well, even if you go to attempt it, you're operating off the idea that you're not good enough. You're operating off this mindset. You're always going to in some way self-sabotage you. If it's not conscious, it will be subconscious. You know, if you're approaching a problem and believe you can't do it versus if you approach a problem and you believe you can do it, even if that person isn't good enough right now, if they keep steadfast with that belief, they will eventually succeed. Each new step we take in thought reconciles 20 seemingly discordant facts as an expression of one law. And I thought this was a really interesting idea because there's so much stimulus around us, and to even exist, we have to have all these conflicting beliefs. And it's just it just I love the way he said it. I don't know how to explain it aside from that. If you read one thing after this stream, read a translation of called I'll look that up. Is it short? Your automatic goal striving system is working against you like multiple. Yeah, yeah. I mean, so much of our life is determined by like our outlook on things, and so much of what we do is derivative of our thoughts about stuff. And it really is like if you need an easy example of it, just think of somebody that's confident that you've seen succeed that shouldn't succeed, and understand that person just doesn't believe in. defeat. Like I have a friend that like I joked with my other friends like he's too dumb to lose money day trading. Like 90% of people lose money day trading, but this guy just doesn't even have it in his mind that he could lose money. So he just it's ridiculous. The amount of money he made is just stupid. It's like frustrating. And it's like he just doesn't have it in him to lose money. Just not even an idea. It doesn't even cross his mind. Whereas me, if I tried to do it, I would just psych myself out. I would get all in my own head about stuff. Valor consists in the power of self-recovery so that a man cannot have his flank turned, cannot be outgeneraled, but put him where you will, he stands. Valor consists in the power of self-recovery, the capacity to redirect yourself, the capacity to adapt. And really what he's saying is he's combining it with this idea of circles, with the idea of cycles, with the idea of change. And a successful person is somebody that's able to adapt to the changes of life, the simple changes that are just going to occur and are just a fact of your future. How can you move forward with that? How can you adapt that versus think of the people that stay stuck in high school, or think of the people that stay stuck at a certain point of development and they never keep growing. That's not a successful person to me. A successful person to me is somebody that accepts each and every day, goes forward, does their best, and faces the challenges, not duck their head in the sand like an ostrich. There are degrees in idealism. We learn first to play with it academically, as the magnet was once a toy. Then we see in the heyday of youth and poetry that it may be true, that it is true in gleams and fragments. Then its countenance waves stern and grand, and we see that it must be true. It now shows itself ethical and practical. We learn that God is, that He is in me, and that all things are shadows of Him. The idealism of Berkeley is only a crude statement of the idealism of Jesus, and that again in a crude statement of the fact that all nature is the rapid efflux of goodness executing and organizing itself. Much more obviously is history and the state of the world at any one time directly dependent on the intellectual classification then existing in the minds of men. The things which are dear to men at this hour are so on account of the ideas which have emerged on their mental horizon and which cause the present order of things as a tree bears its apples, a new degree of culture would instantly revolutionize the entire system of human pursuits. So essentially, Emerson is saying that when a revolutionary idea occurs, the entire world changes. I mean, think of before the French and American Revolution. Um, we can get into the Masons having a hand in that. That's not really the point of what I was trying to say. I don't even know why I brought it up, but prior to that, everything was aristocracy. Prior to that, it was the divine right of kings. And then after that, it was the belief in self-governance. And now we hold the idea of quote unquote democracy to be the highest belief and the highest idea and the highest factor for an enlightened society, even though it's really not idealistic in terms of governments. I don't think governments are ever fair, but you get what I'm saying is that people when they say democracy, they almost smile because they think it's this mythic sort of catch-all term that shows that humanity is good and that good will always prevail and we might experience a change in this very soon. Who knows? Doesn't seem like the current system of things can hold up, but the use of literature is to afford us a platform whence we may command a view of our present life, a perchance by which we may move it. We fill ourselves with ancient learning, install ourselves as best we can in Greek, in Punic, and Roman houses, only that we may wisely receive French, English, and American houses and modes of living. Okay. So he's saying we read about the past to learn about the present, which is a very interesting idea because this is what I really first appreciated about literature. I didn't really think I was going to ever get into literature. I really didn't think I was going to read. Um, sci-fi or anything like that, but like it just it shows you a different perspective. It puts you in a different setting, and seeing the common threads of that society in your own life, and seeing where things lead to, and seeing ideas played out in different variations is really beneficial in terms of how to deal with your day-to-day life. And it's a very interesting idea he puts forward. Therefore, we value the poet. All the argument, all the wisdom is not in the encyclopedia or the treatise on metaphysics or the body of divinity, but in the sonnet or the play. I certainly have to agree with this because if you read really, really good poetry, there's something in Dante that isn't captured in anything else. There's something in Blake. There's a spirit in Blake or a spirit in Gibran that can't quite be carried through in other mediums. And there's something so profound about reading those writers. Fiction expresses reality much better than self-help, yeah, for sure. But the thing about that is the reason people don't go to fiction for self-help, for the purpose of self-help, is because it's not handed to you. It's because it's something they have to sit with. It's because they have to think about it. I think people today want the instant gratification, and I think it's something we have to get away from. The more difficult and intentional you can make your life, the more life will have meaning to you. It's wonderful how we can create lies to express certain truths in society. I mean, isn't that just like propaganda 101? We have the same need to command a view of the religion of the world. We can never see Christianity from the catechism, from the pastures, from a boat in the pond, from amidst the song of wood birds we possibly may. And this is again, it's kind of we experience our own form of faith. I don't think Emerson would necessarily be like against. I mean, he was a Christian minister to begin with, but shit, was he a Unitarian? I can't remember exactly what I think he was a Unitarian, which is a interesting denomination that Thomas Jefferson created. But and that's originally what he set out to do. And then I think his wife died. I think he left faith after that. I think that's what spurred it on. Whom the brave text of Paul's was not specially prized, then shall also the Son be subject unto him who put all things under him, that God may be in all. Let the claims and virtues of a person never be so great and welcome. The instinct of man presses eagerly onward to the impersonal and illimitable, and gladly arms itself against the dogmatism of bigots with the generous word out of the book itself. And here you see Emerson at his finest because he's not denouncing religion, but he's denouncing people that use religion to justify a worldview which is not uplifting of everyone. I mean, Emerson is very famously one of the most prominent early abolitionists. Actually, I don't want to say that. I don't. He was a very prominent abolitionist when he was alive. And obviously he lived through the American Civil War. Um, to be an outspoken, I don't know if it was dangerous for him, but he certainly was against slavery. And this is probably what he means because think at the time there were people going to church that owned people. Like what? Like how could you possibly justify that with what your book says? Like what the Bible says? How could you justify slavery? It's crazy to conceive a kind of person that could do that. But the natural world may be conceived of as a system of concentric circles, and we now and then detect in nature slight dislocations which apprise us that the surface on which we now stand is not fixed but sliding. Okay, let's go back to that. Now and then we detect in nature slight dislocations. I think this is a beautiful way to say it because it's only when you go on a hike and there's a really beautiful clearing and you hear the water where things kind of immediately change. Whatever was important in your life is not important anymore. And that moment just slips away into the pure presence of you enjoying that piece of nature. People take stories at face value and don't respect the philosophy behind it. I mean, I don't think that's true. I think you could say that about dumb people. I don't think that's people in general. Self-help is really just straightforward, both in language and content. I think that's why you don't learn anything. You can learn stuff from self-help, but it's like uh it's like the difference between like I would say the difference between like reading a book that teaches you a lesson is like somebody showing you how to do something versus me giving you a list of steps. And obviously me showing you how to do something, you've put in more effort, you've done it yourself firsthand, you've experienced it firsthand. I think a book is the closest thing to achieving that versus just giving you a step-by-step list of what to do, which in the end both may work, but one is probably going to work more because you had to put some sort of effort into it. They justified it by verses in the Old Testament. But like I don't get how people take it so literally. You know what I mean? I don't know. It never made sense to me to take things literally like that. Cause and effect are two sides of one fact. Cause and effect are two sides of one fact. And this is a very interesting idea because we oftentimes are like, why did this happen to me? Like I've been good, like why do I have such bad luck? And it's like there's some order to things and things are working on such a grand scale that we can't really make sense of them. So it's the easiest way to explain that. It's a very difficult thing to wrap your head around. Let me get more coffee. I'll be right back in a minute. All right, I'm back. How long have we been going for? So I feel like I've been talking for a while. So it feels like I'm losing my voice. 47 minutes, okay. I was thinking it was around there. Not that I'm gonna end it right now. We're gonna go through this first, and then we'll talk if anyone wants to talk. But yeah, I'm having fun so far. These are I feel like these are much more fun to do because I feel like we can, like I said earlier, get into the weeds of things. And I don't really like, it's nice and all like having a video that like really simplifies the stuff. But I really like we talked about Emerson so much that we really haven't got into like more than just a handful of his like really famous quotes. Where I think the more you read about somebody, the more kind of maybe these specific quotes don't hit you the same, but you get more of a understanding of them. Like the more I read Emerson, the more I'm like, I agree with everything this guy was about. Like freedom of the individual, being yourself, not being afraid to you know, carry yourself in a way that other people despise. Like, did I read The Vegetarian? I don't even know who's that by. I have so many things to read right now, but just keep reminding me and I'll get to it eventually. The poor and the low have their way of expressing the last facts of philosophy as well as you. Blessed be nothing, and the worse things are, the better they are proverbs in which express the transcendentalism of common life. And there's there's something here because think about it this way, the more things you have, the more tied down you are. Like you may have a really nice car, a really nice house. But that means that you have to stay there because you have to keep working the same job, you have to keep paying the mortgage, you have to, you know, keep working and doing all those things in order to, you know, keep up with the Joneses. What about Answer to Job? I ordered it and then it just never came. So I canceled it and ordered another book, but I'll I'll look for it in a bookstore because I know a lot of Barnes and Nobles usually have that book. But I ordered it and it was like it was weird. It was like it wasn't even saying that like it was out of stock. It wasn't even saying that like it had shipped. It just said ordered for like a week or two, and that's never happened to me on Amazon. Like it's either like they're trying to restock it or some sort of update. And I think it was I don't know. I feel like I got caught in limbo, so I just canceled it and got something else. But I'll get around to that one eventually. And there's also this idea that like if you can't be happy with nothing, you'll never be happy with anything. So it's like if you can't be happy right now, then when you have everything and you have no excuse to be unhappy, you're going to be even more unhappy. It's a very it's a very kind of counterintuitive idea, but it really does make a whole lot of sense. It's like imagine if you could experience how happy you would be at the end throughout the whole process. And that's really the way to pursue your dreams, your goals, your sort of aspirations. I got lucky and found a really old copy in a used bookstore by my house. There's not really any good used bookstores by my house. Like, there's obviously like Goodwills and stuff, but like, I don't know, aren't those hit or miss? I really just haven't like, I found a really good website. I think it's called worldofbooks.com. I think it's what it is. And they have a lot of like, uh, like pretty much anything I've looked for, I found. It's like $3 or $4. So it's like, maybe I could go find it cheaper, but like it's just so convenient to order it and just have it delivered to my house first trying to trying to get to it. You'll warn me that chapter two gets weird. How weird? Like, so I feel like I've read some weird books, but like when somebody warns me of something like that, like I feel like I talk about a lot of crazy stuff. So it's like if somebody's warning me about being weird, it's probably very weird. One man's justice is another's injustice. One man's beauty, another's ugliness. One man's wisdom, another's folly. As one beholds the same object from a higher point. Oh, I should just end it here. Okay. But this is an interesting idea because one man's justice is another's injustice. And that like if I get the better end of the deal then you lose. And that there's always this yin yang, there's always this push pull. Um, so we'll get into the next paragraph. I don't even know what I'm about to read. What do you mean? I'm literally reading Huckleberry Finn right now. Or you're saying if I read that book, I should be scared. Is that what you're saying? Oh, okay. So you're not trying to spoil it. Okay, fair. I'll look it up. Who's it by? There's no virtue which is final. All are initial. The virtues of society are the vices of the saint. I love this quote right here. The virtues of society are the vices of the saint. The terror of reform is the discovery that we must cast away our virtues, or what we have always esteemed such, into the same pit that has consumed our grosser vices. The terror of reform is the discovery that we must cast away our virtues and our vices. Okay. By Han Kang. I don't know why I said that weird. I feel like my mind is not working right now. Okay. I really love this paragraph here. I think it is essentially saying that like to change is to give up what you like about yourself and what you don't like about yourself. So it's like this is why so many people are resistant to change. It's because you could become something more, but at the cost of losing everything you are right now. And there's this really interesting oh, what is it in? I don't know what book in the Bible it is, but it's the pearl of great price. The pearl of great price. Or the kingdom of heaven is like a pearl of great price. Who, when a merchant finds it, sells all he has in order to purchase it, essentially saying that if you want to achieve the kingdom of heaven, you also have to give up everything that you own in order to attain it. And that's Emerson saying this in a somewhat similar way. Is there any philosophy about death? I mean, what do you mean? I'm sure. I mean, most of our life is about denying death. I know there's a book. It's one of my friends was telling me to read it, and he gave it to me, and it sat on my desk for like a year, and I gave it back to him because it was like, my bad, dude. It's called The Denial of Death. I really need to read it because he said it really inspired him. So I just not even that I think it's gonna be that good. I may agree or disagree, but I just told him I was gonna read it, and I never did. And I've heard about it a lot. So even if I don't like it, I'm gonna find it interesting. I know, just because of how many people have mentioned it. It might just be like when I read Freud. Like I don't necessarily agree with Freud. I see why people enjoy it. I see why people like it. There's something there, but I don't think Freud takes it far enough with a lot of his hunches. I think he was trying to be respectable and not go into the territory that Jung went into. I accuse myself of sloth and unprofitableness day by day. When these waves of God flow into me, I no longer reckon lost time. And I love this because it perfectly explains like if you've ever tried to do anything creative, you're not going to be able to. Like I woke up and I was like, I want to write a little bit today. And it just didn't happen. I wrote like two sentences. I'll read them. Convention may be right, but I must be myself. That was all I wrote today. We have lost our ability to be bored, thus we have lost our soul. Without attention, there is no existence. It's literally all I wrote today. Or the second one was last night, but it was technically today. But what Emerson is saying is that when the time comes, the time is meaningful. And what I mean by this is that our heights of creativity are worth every moment that we have writer's block or we're stuck. And thus, O circular philosopher, I hear some reader exclaim, you have arrived at a fine, how do I say this? It's Pyrrhic, Pyrrhonism at an equivalence and indifferency of all actions, and would fain teach us that if we are true, forsooth, our crime may be lively stones out of which we shall construct the temple of the true God. No facts to me are sacred. None are profane. I simply experiment, an endless seeker with no past on my back. So he's accepting the ever changing reality. He's allowing himself to be wrong. He's allowing himself to grow. He's allowing himself to change. That when he is proven wrong, he will change his perception. But until that day comes, he will hold his beliefs. And I think this is something that we need to kind of embrace more and more because I feel like we're always willing to die on the hill. We're not willing to accept that we might be wrong. We're not willing to accept that there's any possibility that, you know, our entire existence might be wrong. Indifference of all actions, huh? I don't want to hear from you. Where you been? What's up, Louisville? How's everything, man? How long has it been? I've been so bad about streaming. My bad. It's not even that I didn't have time. It's just I was like, I don't know, procrastinating. I don't know if procrastinating is the right word because I just didn't feel like I was up to it. I didn't feel like it would be fun for me. And if it's not fun for me, it's not gonna be fun for you guys. Forever it's labor to create a life and thought as large and excellent as itself, but in vain for that which is made instructs how to make a better. For that which is made instructs how to make a better. Records are made to be broken, When you achieve something, then you set the bar for the next achievement and they exceed your achievement. You haven't been paying close attention? That's crazy. What you been up to? Anything good? Thus there is no sleep, no pause, no preservation, but all things renew, germinate, and spring. Why should we import rags and relics into our new hour? Nature abhors the old, and old age seems the only disease. All others run into this one. We call it by many names: fever, intemperance, insanity, stupidity, and crime. They're all forged forms of old age. They are rest, conservatism, appropriation, inertia, not newness, not the way onward we grizzle every day. I see no need of it. And essentially, Emerson saying that time is the only thing that takes us away, and we're all just putting some sort of attribute to it, but it's just in order to be alive, we must be reborn. We must be new. We must be sort of growing and changing and becoming different. I don't really like to say it in that way because I feel like there's somewhat of a connotation to it, but it's just living life. It's the easiest way to put it. Just reading up in semantics for your thesis. What's your thesis? Let's hear all about it. You're reading Chomsky about how to go to the islands. Right, he was doing linguistics, right? I'm sure it's a different field. Life is a series of surprises we do not guess today. The mood, the pleasure, the power of tomorrow. When we are building up our being of lower states, of acts of routine and sense, we can tell somewhat. But the masterpiece of God, the total gross and the universal movement of the soul, he hitteth. They are incalculable. Incalculable. What's the greatest quote? Uh, hold on, let me look it up. Your worst sin is that you've destroyed and betrayed yourself for nothing. Dostoevsky. I think that's really, I think that might be the best quote. You're reading the Talmud. I mean, there's probably some interesting stuff in there, but I mean, I feel like I'm gonna read all of those kind of books at some point. So, where was I? It's down here. The one thing which we seek with insatiable desire is to forget ourselves, to be surprised out of our propriety, to lose our sempiternal memory, and to do something without knowing how or why. In short, to draw a new circle. Nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm. This Teddy Roosevelt stole this in what is it, the Man in the Arena speech. He says something like that. The way of life is wonderful. It is by abandonment. The great moments of history are facilities of performance through the strength of ideas as works of genius and religion. A man, said Oliver Cromwell, never rises so high as when he knows not whither he is going. Dreams and drunkenness, the use of opium and alcohol are the semblance and counterfeit of this oracular. Some of these words are just like I've seen these words and I can read them, but reading them out loud is so difficult. I'm sorry. And hence their dangerous attraction for men. For the like reason, they ask the aid of wild passions, as in gaming and war, to ape in some manner these flames and generosities of the heart. Okay, so that was a very good essay. And really, he brings it home with this idea And what he's saying in the ending, I think, might be the most significant is that what we're looking for is a new experience. What we're looking for is to get beyond ourselves. We seek with insatiable desire to forget ourselves. What he's saying here is we don't want to be defined by the past. We want to be able to move in the future without any sort of preconceived notion of things. I mean, think about it this way, like if you could approach a problem without all of your memories of failure, how much easier would it be? If you could go into a situation and read your favorite book for the first time, like it's that sort of idea. It's like if we could experience new things and if we could do new things and if we could become new people and if we could uh, smile in spite of this change and face life in this sort of optimistic, open manner, then absolutely nothing is closed off to humanity, which I really love this idea. I think I sat down to like read one page of this and I read this entire thing the first time I read it. But yeah, this was a good Emerson essay. I'll stick around for a few minutes though to talk to you guys if anyone wants to talk about anything random or whatever. But yeah, I think I'm gonna keep doing this kind of stuff because it's way more fun. Um, I feel like I prepare more too, so that I kind of have an idea of what I'm going to talk about versus kind of winging it, which I'm definitely good at winging it, but like it could be hit or miss. Whereas I want to make sure that like I'm giving you guys my best. I don't want to half-ass it. I want to start, really putting my effort into this thing and I don't know, seeing where it goes. Because I feel like I'm not doing that. I feel like I keep doing the same thing. I feel like some ways banging my head against the wall expecting a different result instead of actually improving things. But yeah, I don't know the next time I'm gonna be able to stream. Honestly, maybe on Sunday if I can read another essay, annotate it a bit. I might be able to find an hour or two. I don't know. I wanna get back to doing at least 2 or 3 streams a week. I think that's a pretty good number. I think I can stick to that. This week, just I don't know, wasn't feeling it. Didn't want to half-ass it and go through the motions. So you guys only got one. But yeah, if there's nothing you guys want to talk about, I'm gonna head out and have a rest of your Friday night, guys. It was a fun stream, and I love doing this so much. So the fact that anyone wants to listen to this is just a benefit because I would do this regardless if anyone listens. So thank you guys for spending time with me. Peace out. I'll catch you in the next one.